All right, what's up, guys? It's Mitchell or Deity, and today I'm going to be going over a new kind of tier list that I think will help players a lot more than a general tier list of what is what is good in the meta. I'm going to be going over a tier list for players who are not super far into RTA or just starting RTA, as to which characters are easy to gear to a point where you can use them in RTA. So there are going to be some characters you should avoid as a new player, and not avoid, but not expect to get them built right away. You're going to see them, you're going to know they're good, and you're going to try to build them, and your build's going to suck, and it will be pointless for you to try to work on them first. So this will give you kind of a priority list as to what you should be working on. So one thing before we get into this, I want to show, let's just show an example of this real quick. So if you look at the stats on my Spectre Tenebria, damage dealers are generally harder to gear, especially speed damage dealers, because you have to focus on attack, speed, crit chance, and crit damage. So you're focusing on 4 overall stats, and you need to hit certain benchmarks for them to even be usable, meaning that whenever you're trying to get those stat lines, you need 100 crit chance. You want to get 100 crit chance on your character, or at least 99. I do 99, but it's not advisable. You want to get 100 crit chance, meaning your gear has to roll a specific way. Whereas a character like Destina, you're looking for defense, HP, a little bit of speed, and then effect resist. You're looking for 4 stats, but there's no benchmark that you have to get to make them be usable. You don't have to roll the amount of crit chance. So they are just easier to gear because there's not a stat threshold that you have to hit for them to be playable. So a lot of the times tanks, slower characters, support characters, and things like that are just easier to gear. A lot of units that do not crit will be easier to gear. So let's go ahead and get into this. It's going to be a long video. You may want to skip around to different parts depending on which characters you want to see. But I went ahead and broke this into easy to build. These are going to be the easiest to build with the most value characters, medium to build, hard to build, insane to build, and then don't bother building. So Lethe is going to be a medium to build character. She requires speed, a lot of HP. You are going to be focusing mostly on HP on her. So she would be a medium to build character. She's not hard to build. You don't have to have her with specific stats to have her work. There's no 100 crit chance, but she'll be medium. Now, ML Landy. ML Landy is such a strong character that as long as you build her decently, she is going to be very good for you. So she's a character that would be hard to build a good one, but you could build a okay one and she would still be fantastic. So ML Landy is going to go up into medium build because there are certain characters that, because they're just so good and will work on a medium build, they'll get bumped up. But Landy, a good Landy, is hard to build. But because of how good she is, that's where she goes. Arya is going to be a hard to build character to build a proper Arya, especially in the current meta. She is pretty hard to build. She takes specific gear. She requires effect res and other stats to make her work very good. So she will go into hard to build. There's a second Lethe and Naval Captain Laney for some reason. Dilibet will go in the don't bother building. That's don't bother. A lot of these characters I'm going to put in don't bother. If you want to try them, you can. If anything, I would say use your Grace of Growth on them. Throw some gear on them. And so those of you that are following my guide series, we're going to be taking Sigrid off of Grace of Growth so you guys can, and 6-starring her, so that way you guys can start using Grace of Growth to try out characters. That's what the system was implemented for. You can put characters in Grace of Growth, take them into RTA, see if they're good. If they're not good, take them out, try another one 3 days later. It's a way to continually test the characters you have and see if you can make them work. It's a great system within the game. So ML Ren, I'm going to say don't bother building. Batiste Celestial Mercedes is one of the worst characters right now, but you can maybe make her work. Fighter Maya is not going to be something I advise building. ML Kawana is not, and this is for PvP, by the way. Sorry if I didn't say that already. This is for getting into RTA. So ML Kawana would be a medium to build character for Katie. She would be good for PvE, but this is focusing on PvP. So Kawana's only purpose is Katie's really in the game. There's maybe a couple other PvE places you could use her, but you don't have to worry about it. Guider Aether, I would not bother. And this is for newer players getting into RTA, so keep that in mind too. Broman, I love Broman, but not bother. Haste, I wouldn't bother. Fire Kawazu, no. Axe God, you can maybe mess with him. He would be a one you can try on Grace of Growth. It can be decent into some things, but usually it's pretty bad. Clarissa, no. Hirado, no. Most of these characters at first are going to go into the do not bother building category. So Ervalen I wouldn't bother with. He's one that could be an option. And maybe I should make another tier that would put like some characters that are medium in there, because even Penelope you could maybe mess with. So Raz is going to be an easy to build character. To make him very good, he would maybe go down to medium build because you need him pretty fast, but he is a easy to gear character and can be used for RTA, but I don't. If you have other tank options, I definitely suggest them first. But as you see, this bottom tier is just getting absolutely filled up. But luckily, we're going to get this out of the way, and most of the other characters will go into different things. But this will hopefully, I'll just throw these in just to clear this up. Actually, no, because that's going to confuse people. So let me throw that down here. And then Niminus, this, Gloomy Rain is maybe usable. Gunther, maybe with Lilius. You could try something. Godmother. Sven is just outclassed. Surin is a speed imprint. It's one thing is I'm going to tell you in this is don't worry about speed characters. If you're a newer player, you're not going to have the gear to cleave. So keep that. Maybe some of you will, but most of you will not have the gear to cleave. So do not even bother trying with that if you're a newer player. And you'll see more of that later. So we just keep dragging this bottom tier, just get it absolutely stuffed with characters. Hopefully there's not a bunch of dupe characters in here because that's annoying. So Arrowell is finally one that is easy to build and super, super good. We're going to drag Raz to the end. So Arrowell is easy to gear. You can just throw any bulk stats on her, 25,000 HP, build her on speed set, HP set. I use protection set on my 30-day challenge account. The free protection set, it wasn't bad. Inos is a character that will go up into the... I guess she's kind of hard to gear to make her really usable. I'm going to drag her up there. I'm actually going to zoom out a little bit just to make this easier to get to. I wish I could just move this row out of the way. There's no really clean way to do this. So I wouldn't bother building her. Requiem Rowana is, I'm going to put her in hard to build. She is very good in a certain type of thing right now. Medium to build would be Green Armin. She can be okay for anti-cleave. Assassin Sid, insane to build. Do not bother building this character unless you have insane speed gear. Hard to build would be her. You can build her like 250 speed. This would be insane to build too. Don't really want to worry about it. Specimen says is actually a medium to build character that can be good for arena and guild wars. So he's a character that isn't too hard. And if you build him decently, he will work. Basar is just outclassed right now, so I wouldn't bother gearing him. Astromancer Elena also is a character that maybe she has a little bit of potential. I'm going to put her in hard to build, though, because to make her really shine, you're going to need decent gear. ML Haste is just in a terrible spot right now. Bad Cat Armin is too easy to play against an RTA, so we're not going to put her. Camilla, not good for RTA. ML Ken... So if you're going to try to build ML Ken, I'm going to put him insane to build. He's sometimes a decent fit spec character, but very, very rarely. Spirit Iceline is just a better version of him. So Axe God Elfelt is going to go into the insane to build category. She is a little bit easier because you don't need to build crit chance on her. So hard to build. Ida would be a hard to build character to get her 230 speed with very good damage to make her usable. Dark Corvus, though, easy to build character. He can just be put on HP set and made work. So now we can go down. Doris can be okay. I mean, for new players, maybe you have to use Doris. She can win you games. Not advisable, though. Corinne can go down here. Holiday Euphine, I would say, is a medium to build character. Actually, she just disappeared, so who knows where she went. She went to the bottom. I'd say she's medium to build. You can get away with a lot on her, but I wouldn't advise building her either. So now we have Ilanav. She would be considered a hard to build character on counter. She's in between medium to build and hard to build because if you build her kind of poorly, she will not perform and just be very bad. Jenna, I think, has a specialty change that's okay. So this would be considered an insane to gear character. You need him to be super fast. Fire Ken. He isn't really usable in PvP at all. I don't see anyone play him, so I'm going to go ahead and not put him in the list. Kyrus is PvE. Flan, insane to build. You will not focus on them as an early game player. Fire Litica, wouldn't bother. Kisei is going to probably go into hard to build. So basically, any character that requires 270 plus speed is insane to build. Any character that goes on hard to build is going to be like 250 and below. That's what I'll say for that. Hazel's not PvP. Ludwig, a good Ludwig. I mean, he can be used in PvP. He's decent sometimes. I'll put him there. We'll get to the RTA meta characters toward the end. Melissa, I'm not going to put her in. She can be used. Mort, we'll just go into hard to build too, because getting a Mort that actually works can just go into that. As a new player, you really shouldn't be doing it. Pavel, as a new player, you should never try to touch. Mui can be usable, but she will go into insane to build too because a really good Mui needs to be above 270 speed, and she has low base speed. Purgus, I'm not going to put in Blaze Dingo. I'm not going to put this in. Ray is technically a cleanser. That is easy to gear. He is a cleansing option. He sucks right now compared to every other cleanser, but he can work. It's just after he skill 3s, it falls off hard. So Ruel is a pretty easy to gear character. She can be good for new players. Gives you a second reviver alongside Destina. Euphine is okay. I would say she's hard. I would say she's medium to build, but the problem is she's not that useful. So I probably shouldn't put her up in there. I'll rearrange as to what is the best options and what's the worst. Rose, too hard to build for any PvP purposes. Watch Assure, he's a speed imprint only, so I wouldn't focus on getting him built up as a new player. Says can work, but T-Cern just still outclasses him, so I'm not going to bother putting Says in. That's you guys should worry about building. All of these characters are still bad. This is an insane to gear character, so she requires heavy speed. Tywin is a pretty easy to gear character, and he can be used in RTA decently. Vivian is not PvP. This is a character that is also insane to gear. She can be really good, and she's a speed imprint. On top of that, so does Nice. Yuna is not really advised in PvP right now, but a lot of people love her and try to use her. To get her to work well, I'm going to put her in hard to build as well. Actually, I think this is probably goes into the insane to build tier, because if you're not 270 speed, then I wouldn't bother building her. Maybe you can get away with 260, and she can be a disrupting character. Leica is also going in the insane to build tier. You need her to be infinitely fast. So Hua Young is an easy to build character, but she is not too strong right now. She's okay into ML Landy and other tanks. She's okay into ML Landy, but ML Landy has such a variance in HP that sometimes she just doesn't work too good, but she can kind of serve. I don't know. She's okay. Arunka is a character that is, I would say, medium to build. She can work into ML Landy and some other characters right now and can be decent, but in my opinion, ML Kawazu is just the easier new player go-to. So Taeyu is not good in RTA. I'm just going to put him down there. He's not good. Giselle Bihu would be hard to build character, but can have some value. Peacemaker Furious, I wouldn't put it into the tier. Elegos would be, I'm just going to put him in insane to build to make a usable one for PvP. Insane to build. This is another character. He requires insane stats to be used effectively. My MLK run has a very high win rate. If you pick him properly, he can be a very strong character. The problem is people expect all ML units to be like APOC Ravi, LR Crow, Seed Lilies. They expect them all to be just amazing without having to have too crazy of gear on. This character, I have some of the best gear on my account on him, and by drafting him properly in RTA, he wins if you draft him properly. Otherwise, he will not. But he becomes such a hard threat that he will just win you games. I've won multiple with him the past couple days. I think I usually win like 9 out of 10 games with him. So I definitely think he's a character that has potential. But Jacko, I'm going to put Jacko in hard to build, because Jacko's hard to build, but to get Jacko to work, you have to have an insane to build character mixed with her. So insane to build, I'm just going to put him okay on there to keep you guys from trying to build him and building a poor one that will not perform. That's the main thing. Most people think Immocaron's really bad because of the fact that they don't have the gear to properly build him. So now going down here, we have Acades. Acades is easy. She's pretty easy to gear, and she can work as an additional cleanser for you in early RTA. If you don't have the other options, say you didn't start with Destina from your selective summon, she can work. She provides invincibility. She has a little bit in her kit that can help you in early RTA. But here is a character that is, I would put her in hard to build category, but to get a good ML Bologna like we saw in the Epic 7 World Cup and have her perform to that level, she would be insane to gear. But by putting her in hard to build, you can build her on a medium set and she will still perform well and win you a lot of games. So Roy is going to go into the hard to build category. Lifesteal Roy is the current meta build for Roy. ML Leica is going to go into the, I would say, insane to build, because even though you don't need to go super speed, I think she's a little bit easier to gear than the insane to build characters, because you can go 260 speed, which allows you to not have to rely on quad and penta rolls to get the character built. So with her, if you got 3 out of 5 speed rolls per average per piece, she's still going to be very, very good. So I'll put her in hard to build. So the insane to build characters are going to be characters that require insane stat rolls, usually quad rolls on speed. So where each piece is minimum 18 speed. And that is this tier. And then like there's going to be a couple exceptions that just like MLK to be usable, you need basically all max rolls on all your gear to get the actual benefit out of them. So Violet is actually going to go into an easy to build character because you can just put him on the free lifesteal set from Abyss and he will work just fine. Building a better one would be good, but so Momo is a character that is also a cleansing option. So I would go ahead and put her in easy to build. She's okay. For early RTA, she gives you a solid cleanser. Getting her to a high enough effector stat to really be viable, and technically all cleansers would go into this. It's kind of a medium to build, but the free gear you get at the beginning of the game, you should have at least 2 pieces of all your health sets that roll decent effect resist. And then you put an effect resist ring, you're going to be sitting at close to 200 effect resist plus our passive. I think you can get 200 effect res easy on them, and that should be a good benchmark to aim for. So Rem is going to go into the to make her good in PvP, you need counter gear. Technically, you can put her on the free counter gear from Arena. So I'll put her on medium to build because that is where you could put your counter gear and make her work pretty well. So Alexa is PvE. Singelica would be a hard to build character. I would say she's medium to build character. Singelica could work on like 220 speed in RTA as long as she has some bulk, and she could end up being a decent option. So to get her to a usable point, let's just say medium. I will have builds for all of these characters. I've been saying that I'm going to get them up. I already have the fire video up, but the way that free unequipped worked this way, or this recent time, I just wasn't able to finish it last weekend, but I will have all the build videos this weekend. So all these characters that I'm showing, you'll be able to go to my YouTube and see build examples for every single character plus the gear on them. So those will be up this weekend. I promise I'm not going to put it off. Now that I know how the new unequip for the month works, I know not to waste my my Friday night. Basically, I thought I could do it last week on Thursday. So Archie Mercedes, to get a good build on her, she's not too great in the current meta, but medium to build character would be Archie Mercedes. So she would be okay. Baiken, to use in PvP, I would say Baiken's an insane to build character. She is not good in PvP. She can work sometimes, but to get her to a point to work, insane gear requirement. So now Cerise to work in PvP, also insane to build. You need 18 speed average per piece to work consistently. I would not put Sermia in there. I would not put that in there. Would not put that in there. Cdom is a character that is, I would say, medium to build, but she still isn't really too used in PvP right now. So even with her new E, Champion Zerato is a character that I advise not trying to use for PvP until he gets a buff. He's so close to being super good, but just not quite there. So Charles for PvP, technically he could be okay. He would be a hard to gear character. The problem is he's an attack scaling knight, which never works out. He can be okay. I'm just going to put him in the don't bother building for now. Charlotte is a character that I would say is medium to build. She doesn't need crit chance and she wants lifesteal. So those pieces are kind of rare. For new players, you're not going to be able to use the free lifesteal sets. So, but the thing is, her not needing crit chance makes her a little bit easier to gear if you're farming Banshee and you see pieces with HP percent, defense percent, and then crit damage and speed or something. You can use that on her and she'll work pretty good. So now we have Christy. To use Christy in PvP, I would say she's medium to build. You need to get effectors on her. She does have some potential in certain drafts. Watcher Shuri is going to be one speed imprint that I think is worth doing. He would be medium to build. He's also good in PvE. So a good Sid would be hard to build. An insane Sid would be insane to build. So you could get a Sid that's 260 speed and he adds speed imprint to your team. 260 speed is not bad. And he will work pretty well. He'll go into the hard to build. Any 260 characters will come in here if they're a speed character. So now going down, let's go ahead and grab Deanne. Deanne is I would say medium to build character. She does need some speed. You could get her to work on an easy to build if you do get a little bit of speed rolls, get her to at least like 230. She'll work okay, but to build like a 250 DN, let's put her in medium to build, but she's pretty good. So as a new player, the best thing you can do is focus on the easy to build and medium to builds first, or if you're just trying to start your RTA roster. And then from there, these hard to build and insane to builds, try to avoid them, and you'll build them one at a time once your gear starts stacking up. So Closer Charles is going to go into the insane to build to get him to a point where he's very, very good. You can maybe get away with a 260 build, but I think he's a 270 speed plus character for consistency. He is very nice. So now next up we have Glorina PvE. DJ Basar is a character that could probably fit into, I would say he's pretty hard to, let's put him in medium to build. So you can build a little bit slower DJ Basar on Eternus with some extra bulk instead of speed and just high effect res. And I would say he's medium to build. He's a very good cleansing character. So going down, we have Crozet. You will not use Crozet for PvP sometimes for you early players that have him geared. If you don't have another knight option, like your knights get stolen, sometimes you might have to pick him, and he can win you RTA games. I probably will end up picking him when we're doing our challenge. But in Eaton is a decent knight tank that is easy to build. I do not recommend building him as high priority. He's more of like an anti-cleave style character. Amelia would go into the medium to gear if you can build her 240 speed along with these, and she'll be great. Characters like Ray as a cleanser and Acades, you want to aim for like 200 to 210. Characters like Deanne, DJ Basar, and Amelia, you can aim for above that speed and higher effect res for these two. So... but you'll see all the builds if you keep waiting. So I would say that Fairy Tail Chamber is a hard to gear character. You can get away with a 250, 260 one. But if you're going to try to go above 260, she becomes an insane to build character again. So now we have Faithless Litica. She is a character, I would say she's hard to build. A 260, 270 Faithless Litica can work. So she'll just go here. She won't go into the insane tier. She is pretty hard to build though, so do not think you can build her. I would say 260 would be the minimum speed. And the thing is, if you do not have the Guiding Light artifact, she becomes an insane to build character. I didn't even think about the artifact selection within this. I'm just thinking about the gear. But without Guiding Light, she's an insane to build character. With Guiding Light, you can put her in the hard to build territory. So Free Spirit Terra, do not advise using her PvP, no PvP. ML Kawazu, this is going to be a character that can go into the medium to build. It's a character you don't have to build crit chance, crit damage. It's attack, defense, HP, and like 220 speed. He'll work for you. He's pretty good in the current meta. I just built him recently. I won my first game with him. First time I picked him, I won. My build is terrible on him. He's impressing me. He's pretty good, and he's pretty easy to gear. So now let's go ahead. Judge Kisei. Judge Kisei, if you're going to get Judge Kisei to work properly, she's in the insane to build category, and she just isn't good right now with Aiden being a character. The only place she works is a 5th pick, and to use her as a 5th pick, you need average like 22 speed per piece, and then she's barely 300. So I don't think she is worth building at all. I'm going to move her down. I just want to say she could be used, but literally only as a 5th pick. Katie Clarissa, she's not terrible. She could be used in PvP, but I think there's better cleansing options. I might mess around with her because I think I got her on the challenge account. She is a cleanser. She dual attacks. She has some potential, but let's not worry about her. I don't, since I haven't done it, I don't want to suggest others to do it. So Luna, I would not suggest trying to use an RTA. Doris, I think we already put her in the easy to gear tier. Let's that's the non-specially changed one, down into don't bother. Okay, so now we have Mersa. Mersa can be an okay option for some of you new players, and she would be a medium to build character. She just is basically a worse Aiden, but still usable. So she can be decent. If you build her as like a backup anti-cleave, if your opponent bans Arrow or Aiden, then you can maybe pick her toward the end of your draft and get away with it. So not a terrible option still for new players. Dizzy for PvP and RTA, I don't advise building her. There's too many immunity givers, cleansers. Dizzy just doesn't work. There's too many characters that punish AoE attackers. Dizzy to use an RTA, I don't advise for new players. Silverblade Araminta, I would go ahead and put into the... I would put her in the hard to build. She still is another character I wouldn't advise, but she can be used. So this is regular Momo. I already have specially changed Momo up there. Operator Cigarette is going to go into the hard to build. She is not good in the meta, but she might be good in the meta again later. The thing is, ML Landy makes her just too inconsistent. trying to use a skill 2 with ML Landy in the board, then you're going to miss crit. And then also Aiden exists. So she is definitely still usable, especially if you pre-ban ML Landy. But so Fire Ravi is I would say she's a medium to build character. She can be used in the Last Rider Crow and certain team comps like that. She does have her place in the RTA meta still, but she does not see very many picks because people have the other options. But if you're a player without a ton of options, she could be somebody worth looking into. Even a speed set one will do fine. Speed set, you'll get more speed out of her. You'll rotate. You want 18,000 HP, 2,500 attack, like 190 speed, 250 crit damage. I think she could work pretty good. Those stats are a little bit inflated. If you get those stats, she might go to hard to build, but to get a usable one of her to fight Last Rider Crows and things like that, she can go down a tier or up a tier, whatever. So Researcher Carrot, great character. She's going to go into the medium to build category. She is a character just like Inferno Quazu, only requires attack, defense, HP, and then some speed. And from there, you don't have to worry about crit chance, crit damage, effectiveness, effect res, none of that matters. So she is a pretty easy character to get up and running early. So let's put the non-special carrot down here. So Kairon is a character that is technically hard to build an effect res one. If you were to build a non-effect res counter Kairon, he would go into about medium to build. And if you pick him as a 5th pick into a player who did not draft properly or picked multiple grass characters, he can pop off. So if they pick like Summer Lulika and like say Yulha or something, I think that happened in the Episode World Cup, and you 5th pick him and ban the other stripping character, he can go crazy. So I'll put him in medium to build, but an effect res anti-cleave version would be hard to build. So keep that in mind, depending on which one you want to do. Seaside Bologna for PvP RTA, she is not currently very good in the meta. She would be about a medium to build character. She does have a lot of things that make her work well. She does need lifesteal to work, and she needs to be pretty bulky. So she would be floating between medium and hard to build. So that will be her. Now, next up, we have Cigarette. Strays is going to go into the hard to build. He needs to be at least 240 speed generally to have work consistently. The faster you go, the better. Or if you're going to do a slower one, you're going to have CR pushers. So if you're cleaving, you can get away with a little bit less build on him, but you will be focusing more damage. So you still want the rolls. So he'll go into hard to build. Next up, we have Summertime Asaria. She needs to be at least 250 speed or so. She's probably going to go to the medium to build category. But the problem with her is you need an insane to build character mixed with her to get your AoE attack off, unless you're going to try to Polytus cheese with her, but that never works. So like your Polytus could counter if they use the non-attack skill, proccing her to go and then pushing your team up. It very rarely works. I've done it a couple of times, but I would say not a character worth trying to force. So T. Cern on the Abyss Lifesteal set is a medium to build character. If you have Ancient Inheritance gear, depending on how it rolled, it could go on her. And T. Cern is a very solid character right now. I've been also, her and ML Quazo are two that I've been playing a lot more this season that I'm just impressed. They're kind of popping. So Fire Tenebria is a debuffing character that has some value if you first pick Hand Guy and the opponent does not pick Last Rider Kraus. Sometimes she could work really good, but to get her to a point where she will debuff Destinas and other effectives units, you need 250. I would say around 250 effectiveness and 230 speed, making her either hard to build or insane to build character to get to use. And she's a character you will not be able to pick often, so I do not advise trying to build her. Vildred is not going to be used in PvP unless you're a cleaver, which if you're watching this, you won't have the gear to cleave anyway, generally. Alots is just outclassed by everything in the game right now, but he can become a speed contest character, and I would say he's hard to build. If you're going to build Alots, you need him at least 260, and you will be 4th or 5th picking him in RTA so that they cannot counter him if they're drafting 4 slow characters. Sometimes an Oxlots plus another damage dealer creates an Oxlots force ban. So Polytus is a character that is very, there'll be medium to build. There's a million builds you can do for her. So you can go ahead and just put her on effectiveness and full bulk at 180 speed. That's easy to do. And then that would be an easy to build. The damage builds would maybe go a little bit harder to build, but either way, Polytus is a very new player-friendly character to get up and running. Milim is going to go into the hard to build. Milim either needs to be 260, 250 speed, or she needs insane counter gear to truly work to her full potential. In my opinion, you might be able to get away with her on 230 speed with a little bulk or something instead of full damage, and maybe she'll bump up to there. But she is a very, very good character if you build her properly. We're almost done already. So Shuna, if you have Shuna, she's going to go into the medium to build, I would say. You can probably get away with 230 speed. Probably 230 speed would be fine. If you're a newer player, maybe you can go 210, 220, and it could be okay. So she can go into the medium to build. She only needs HP, defense, effect res, and some speed. So there's some kind of combination of those stats, and she will work fine. Next up, we have Ran. If you're a new player, don't bother building Ran. He's insane to gear. You're just going to be wasting your time. A problem with Ran is he usually also needs follow-up characters that also are in the hard to build or insane to build. So this is just a good showcase of Ran is going to need other characters to follow him up that also require insane gear. So building, like, yes, if you can build a 290 Ran, cool, but can you build the other follow-up characters to make him properly work? Probably not. So Ran is a character to avoid until your account is well established. You have good speed rolls, and you can redo your account and maybe try out some kind of cleave and other options. So sometimes Ran can work in other styles of teams, and sometimes Ran can just be a solo pick into a team to just one-shot their team. So he can maybe be a standalone, but when he needs to be a standalone character like that either is a force ban or will one-shot the enemy team, you need damn good gear on him. It's not just about the speed. You need to make sure he has a crit damage, attack, and crit chance to one-shot their team, or else just picking him, you're going to lose anyway. He's a very, very hard to gear character. He's a 280 minimum character. I wouldn't build him. I don't even use mine. He's 305. Someone sent me a picture of a 318 one in my Twitch chat yesterday of theirs, and it is insane. So like 305 is I don't even want to pick him at that speed unless they just don't pick anything else that can contest. So Piera is going to go up there in the same tier. The thing with Piera is she has such high base speed, she almost falls into the hard to build because a 280 Piera gives you so much more use case than a 280 Ran. So the thing is they take different gear though. This is usually not a damage dealer unless you're activating Commander Pavel. You won't put crit chance on her. She'll be a full bulk tank replacement essentially and a debuffer at the same time. But Piera is going to be the better option of the two if you are a newer player and maybe got lucky on some speed rolls. Getting her to 270 and late picking her in your draft could be pretty nice if they are not picking characters who are typically 300. So Pirate Captain Flan is going to go into the hard to build character category. Usually you build her with over 200 effectiveness and 240 speed. So hitting those two stats are very hard because you also want to have HP, defense, and attack on her. So her bombs do a little bit, but trying to get over 200 effectiveness with 240 speed can be pretty hard. So now we have Phyllis can be okay. I don't think especially changed Phyllis, but Phyllis, is this Phyllis? That's Phyllis, right? She can go in easy to build, and she is a tank option and can work for you. She does add mitigation. She gets defense buff. She gets hit too much. She provokes and strips. Lots of good things in her kit. So Zahak is one of the characters that I'm going to say it fits in the medium to build. He only needs 50 crit chance since you don't have to worry about getting all the crit chance. He does become a little bit easier. So a lot of problems. He needs to be 240 speed minimum to really work well, unless for RTA. For Guild Wars or Arena, maybe go slower and get away with it. But for RTA, he needs to be a standalone, self-sufficient unit generally. So he needs to be at least 240. And with that, with him not needing crit chance, it makes it to where he's one of the faster characters that you can gear on your speed. Because a lot of times once you roll speed, you're not going to be able to hit that 100 crit chance on your opening character. He kind of helps you get that. So he is I would say medium to build character. He's going to be one of the first, if you have him, to put speed gear on. He's very good into everything. He's just really good. We have Spirit Eye Celine. She is going to go into the hard to build category for sure. You don't have to build her on lifesteal set anymore because they buffed her to where she heals anyway. But she's a character that requires pretty dang good gear. If you draft her, she is basically your win con when you draft her. You need to make sure she's winning you the game, meaning she needs to be on good gear. So she'll go into the hard to build category. This Summer Charlotte will go into the hard to build category 2. I don't know. So I'll just put her there. I won't say too much on her. There's different builds with her. There's lifesteal build. You can go destruction set to do maximum damage. She does push up, so you can build her a little bit slower. But to get the full stat value out of her, she's probably somewhere in between the medium to build and hard to build, because you could build her a little bit less good. But the problem is, for players who don't have the speed or speedier characters established, you won't have as much use case out of her if you don't build her with high stats, because she'll be taking so many hits before you get her benefit of her dual attacking. So I'm just going to leave her in hard to build. So next up, we have Commander Pavel. Commander Pavel, a good Commander Pavel is really only medium to build. He needs no speed. He just needs an insane amount of crit damage and attack. The thing is, you don't really want to use him if you are not using Ran or another character that is 280 plus. He will just not work. So with using Commander Pavel, he's a character you shouldn't really bother building up unless you're going to use him to like speed farm some PvE content with another damage dealer. But to get him to use an RTA for new players, you're not going to have good success. So now we are going to have Ning Ning. She is going to be a hard to build character. She's about the same as DJ Basar, but I think she needs to be a little bit faster. So I would say DJ Basar is a little bit easier to do than her, and most of you guys won't have her anyway. Ahmed is going to be at least a hard to build character, if not insane to build. So this is a character that if you can get like 290 plus speed on, she's very strong. Some people had 300 speed ones whenever we had the Soul Weaver. Well, I don't know if she came out during that RTA meta, but either she's going to be in hard to build, getting her 270 plus or below 270. She can still be useful. But if you want to properly use her, insane to build category, in my opinion. She can be very oppressive, but she has a lot more counter picks now too, though. So now we have Benny Maru. Benny Maru is going to go into, I will just do medium to build. I don't advise building him. He's too easy to play against. He's not great, but if you like him, you can try him. He's the kind of character to put in Grace of Growth, try to build him 220-ish speed with some bulk and as much damage as you can, and then just see if the opponent misplays and he ends up proccing, but most of the time doesn't work. So ML Corinne, insane to build. She needs to be at least 270 plus. Mine is 300 speed pen set on my main account. She's insane. She wins me so many games. She's useful in all content. Absolutely love this character, but I know if you see her and like her, you can maybe get away with a 250 speed one as a new player, but it's going to be risky. So for non-RTA, 250 speed, you can get away with, but for getting into RTA, you're going to need her faster, or else it's just a gamble, because even if you're playing in silver RTA, some silver players have 280s, a lot of 280 speed characters. So if they pick one of those and they take their turn before she does, she isn't doing anything, which sucks. So Death Dealer Ray is going to go into the... He can probably go into medium to build. If you build him on speed set, he doesn't require any specific stats. He's a general support character. So you can get away with like 100 effect res, 220 speed with as much bulk as possible. Or effectiveness, not effect res. You can build him on effect res. There's a bunch of builds for him, but he's generally, you can get away with just putting some random gear on. So Alencia, there's multiple Alencia builds. She's going to go into the medium to build because you can just buy the injury set from Arena, and then she's going to be usable just off that. No matter how that gear rolls, even if it rolls effect res, you can bounce it out with like 2 Wyvern pieces or something, and you'll be able to at least use her. So she can go into that tier for sure. Now, next up, we have Ambitious Tywin. He's going to go into the medium to build, almost easy to build character. I think I'll put him easy to build character. He's a tank, so he doesn't need effectiveness. He doesn't need effectiveness or effect res, because he just cleanses anyway. And if he gets debuffed, he gets the ability to ignore effect resistance. So building effectiveness on him isn't necessary at all. You can do damage on him. If you do a damage one, he becomes a medium to build character at least. But if you're just going to do an easy, quick Tywin build, 200 speed, 26,000 HP, 1400 defense, you're probably good to go. And from there, you're just draft him and he will do his job. You can put him on Aureus. Fat Cat is a character that I don't advise building him early unless you have everything else on your account that you think you can get away with building. The thing is, Fat Cat you can put him on free HP set and draft him into cleavers, and he can give you the ability to just win through RNG. So he is an easy to gear character. If you would like, you can even use him at level 50. So whenever you're doing your draft, if they pick Zeo, first pick Aiden, go Arrowell or some kind of tank option. And then from there, you can go Senya. And then once they pick their characters, hopefully you can end the draft with Assassin Cartusia plus Fire Mercedes or Shu or something, and then you just RNG and hope for the best. Because they're going to have to ban either him or your Aiden, because they don't want to deal with the inconsistency of having a 20% chance to miss extra all of your characters. So he can be very, very nice for upping your win rate on games that you just should not normally win, but that is only against Cleave, typically. So now Bloodblade Corinne, she is a character that really fits into the medium to build category. She's fallen off a lot. There's a new character, Veronica, that against cleavers, they'll just pick her. Then you have to ban Veronica. And then Rand Soulburn strips your BBK. So she's not very good right now. She's fallen off big time. Sometimes you can still make her work as a 5th pick, but she's about medium to build, I would say. Not too hard, but building a good one obviously would be higher. Bryce Sarah is a character that can get into the medium to build category as well. She requires, I would say, you can get away with 200 speed. She has her immortality buff, so as long as she doesn't die and they don't have any stripping characters before her, you can get away with building her pretty slow and still have her work well. The only thing is you want immunity set on her, especially if you're not guiding light. You definitely want immunity on her to prevent debuffs. So she can work. Celine is a character that I would say is also pretty easy to gear. She's one of the easier to gear damage dealers. You can just put her on one of the free destruction sets that you get, and then she will work great. She procs on a non-attack skill. So one of the free destruction sets on her, she'll have probably enough damage to one-shot whatever is their highest attack unit. So a lot of times people pick her in Spectre Tenebria. She has an exclusive equipment where if they use a non-attack skill, she targets the highest attack enemy on the enemy or other team and uses her skill 3 into it, or basically her skill 3, and it does a ton of damage. So she's one of the easiest to gear PvP characters that is a crit chance, crit damage unit. So now going down, let's go ahead and get C. Armin. C. Armin is a great option for you new players that do not have Arrowwell. She will be an Arrow replacement, or if you have Arrowwell, she's a secondary really good knight. So she will definitely go up into there. Next up, we have Lua. Lua is going to go in the insane to build category. If you don't have Guiding Light, she needs to be 300. If you do have Guiding Light, you can go 270, but you have to pick her at the end of your draft generally. So, and if you're going to be picking her at the end of your draft, the opponent's probably already taken her against you, so don't know how well it'll work for you, but she is a character that can fit the speed contest disruptor role, where in my guide series that if you're picking 4th to 5th, you can pick her plus another must ban character, and the opponent, if they can only respond with one character, then they cannot either deal with her, or they'll pick a speed character, you ban it, they'll ban your Lua, and you have your other 4. So she can work as a in-draft pick if she's not 300 or at least 290 speed, but otherwise don't recommend trying to gear her. Or at least if you gear her, don't play her in the general way. So Dilibet is going to go into the medium to build. She's a defense scaling damage dealer, but she doesn't have to be super fast. So I would say 200 speed or even 190 speed will make her work. She doesn't even have to have max crit chance. There's also artifacts that give crit chance to warriors. So she can definitely fit into the medium to build. So now let's go ahead, Falconer Clury. Falconer Clury will go into the, I would say, medium to build. You do want her to be kind of fast, at least 240 if you're going to be using her in PvP. I would say if you can get to 260 though, you will see a big increase in your win rate with her. 240 means you'll have more bulk at least, but she is just a speed, HP, defense character. You can build effectiveness on her, or you can bring, say, Spectre Tenebria to Soulburn her skill 3. So the thing is, if you don't build effectiveness on her, it means she has more bulk, she'll survive for longer, and then you can S1 with her to rotate turns, and then eventually skill 3 defense shot a fight. So I personally, if I was a new player, I would just build her as tanky as I can and not worry about getting effectiveness. I wouldn't use effectiveness ring unless you have a fast one. So if you have a fast effectiveness ring, maybe go for it, but otherwise just do HP or defense ring, and then HP or defense neck. Split the two though. If you do a defense neck, do an HP ring. If you do a defense ring, do an HP neck. And that would be how I would build Falconer Clary, but still aim for at least 240 speed on her. And we will be doing a crafting session later today. So Elena is a character that I would say is medium to build. She does want a decent amount of speed, decent amount of effect res, and the reason for that is because whenever you get attacked with an AoE attack, she needs to be able to cut to get her full value. So she needs to be built decently speedy and decently effect res. So for her, she'll be a harder to gear Soul Weaver. in comparison to like Ruel, Ray, and them. So now we'll go ahead and do Fallen Cecilia. Fallen Cecilia is super easy to gear. You can just put free HP set on her, pick her at the end of your draft as an extra tank option, and she can still be used for RTA. You don't want to pick her early because characters like DJ Basar hard punish her. Arunca also hard punishes her because Arunca does more damage if you have barriers. So she's a character to pick toward the end of your draft to not get hard punished. But she is one of the best knights in terms of overall survivability. General Purgus can be used in PvP once you learn what you're doing. He's a very easy to gear character. You can use him into characters like Zeo, AoE damage dealers. There's a lot of ways to use her. So say if they pick Bellion and you go General Purgus plus you go General Purgus, Rowana, Inferno Kawazu plus another character, and you're going to be getting so much CR push. You have attack buff from General Purgus. You're going to have healing from Rowana, and there's some really good drafts you can do with him still. And he's just a character that if you build full HP, he will survive forever, especially with a Rowana on board. So it's still a decent character, easy to build. Crow is another character that is pretty easy to gear. You want to have him at least 180 speed if you can, with as much HP as possible. Defense secondary, effect res, try to get at least 120. Maybe 100 would be a safe thing. So you might have to go effect res ring, but try to get at least 24k HP on him. Even if you have to go HP percent boots on speed set, he's one of the characters that can work with that. If you have an HP percent boot main stat that has effect res, defense, and maybe some speed splashed in there, he will work fine. So then we are going to go into this. Clary is already done. Landy is a character I would say is medium to build, but the problem is if you don't have Guiding Light, I would say she becomes a hard to build character. So without the artifact Guiding Light, she is a lot harder to make work. You can build her on counter set Bloodstone or counter set some survivability artifact. Multiple things you can do, but if you have Guiding Light, she's pretty medium to build. You can get a usable 220 speed and rock from there. But without Guiding Light, guys, you need some bulk. If you're going to do speed set, you're going to lack damage because of that. She's very reliant on her artifact to work efficiently. Now, if you don't have her artifact, I'm going to say she's going to be hard to build. I would not try to force her in PvP, but if you build her 220, 230, and you're fighting new players, she can be really good 4th, 5th pick option, but don't try to pick her too early in your draft. All right, next up, we're going to have Lilius. Lilius, I would say, is a medium to gear character. She needs to be at least 220, I would say, to really work well. You can get away with just building her 200. Her best exclusive equipment is her skill 2 equipment, or her S2. Yeah, skill 2. It pushes her up 20% if the enemy uses a non-attack skill, and then she also provokes them. So there's a lot you can do with that. I've been trying to utilize her as much as I can on my new account just to see how good she really is. I have like a 50-50 win rate with her, though. She either works really well or else I just get super counterpicked. So I'm not too sure personally what I think of her, but she definitely is an option if you do have her. Her having the dual attack on her skill 1 is great. Little Queen Charlotte. This is a medium to gear character, hard to play character. She gets countered by everything. She's a slow character that if you draft and get her through, she provides mitigation for your team. She one-shots. You build her on Hell Cutter, so you don't have to gear crit chance. Hardly. You have to build like 70 crit chance. You build her like 140 speed, and she just sits there, and with Hell Cutter, you get an extra 4% attack, 4% crit chance every time someone takes a turn, whether it's you or the opponent. So if 15 turns have passed before she hits, she has a 60% attack buff or something insane. And she just one-shots the whole team. If you attack a dark unit, you get splash damage that once you hit the dark unit, all the other units you didn't hit take additional damage depending upon how much damage you do to that dark target. She's a character that can one-shot almost anything in the game, even if they're not dark element, though, if you play her properly. But it is very, very hard. I've had no success with her in a lot of seasons. So next up, Remnant Violet. Remnant Violet is a character that technically would be medium to build. You can put him on Ancient Inheritance gear. You can put him on the gear from Abyss, the level 88 Abyss gear. He works on that. And so technically, you could gear him pretty easily. The better you make him, the better build you make him, the more he'll survive. Having a little bit of bulk on him is nice. And that is Lifesteal Rylot. If you want to do a Speed Rylot, definitely goes up into either hard to build or insane to build. But Lifesteal Rylot, medium to build, you can get away with building him early on. He can be punished very heavily. If the opponent first picks C. Lilius, don't pick him. I'll just say that, just don't bother. Or if they first pick Angel of Light Angelica, don't pick them. Any stripping character that has a non-attack skill, don't pick him. If it's an attack skill that strips, you can pick him. If it's non-attack that strips, do not bother. You will lose the game. So next up, we have Sage Ball. This character is hard to gear. You can probably get away with medium to build, but he's pretty hard to gear. He's very good against cleave. So if you do have him, get him at least 230 speed. Try to get as much effect res as you can on him with 220 speed. So your stat priority is effect res. Try to get like 180. Maybe put the guild artifact on him to reach that. So maybe if you only have 120, get the guild artifact that gives effect res to him and your allies. And then try to get at least 15, 16k HP and 220 speed. And he will work. The more you do with him, the better he's going to be, but that becomes hard to gear. But to get him to a usable spot, we'll just go there. Maid Chloe, I would say medium to gear character. She's not too great right now with Bryceria, Politis, a bunch of characters can just full counter her. But some people see a lot of success with her, but those are usually the hard to build Maid Chloes with all their other characters having a splash of effect res. But I would say she's medium to build. So next up we have Senya. Senya is going to be a medium to build character as well. She is quite easy. She's almost easy to gear because you only need attack, HP, defense, about 200 speed, even 190 you can do. And then there's multiple ways you can do it. I do effect res Senya. Getting at least 100 effect res is nice. The more you have, the better. If you can get 150, that'd be amazing. If you have to sacrifice some other stats. But you can also not do effect resist, but it's a lot harder to do that because if they have any character that strips, which almost everything in the game strips now, it seems like, she's going to lose her counter buff and she will not work well. So my advice is try to do the Effectors build, try to get at least 100, even if you do Effectors main stat ring, and then try to get at least like 3,600 attack, 15k HP, 1,200 defense. That will be usable Senya. She's very easy to gear though, trust me. She takes the gear that no other character wants. She's basically the trash can of the game currently for your speed set gear. You can build her lifesteal. I wouldn't recommend because it's hard to gear her on lifesteal. It takes very specific gear that you would not normally save. So do not advise that. Tamarin PV. Troublemaker Crozet. This is a great character for new players to deal with anti-cleave. I should have added him. If you do have this character, he's very good for anti-cleave. You can pair, anytime you see them cleaving, you can go Aiden, Arrowwell, Aiden, Arrow. Hold on. You pick Aiden first pick into cleave, then you go Arrowwell. And then from there, you can pick Troublemaker Crozet and then Senya. And then you can end the draft with another counter pick, whether it's Celine or something that's going to like disrupt them as well. He just adds a lot of extra ways, and he gives you an additional tank to fight other teams too. He makes your backline character super, super hard to kill. So he's actually great for new players. I completely forgot about him being a thing, which sucked. Whenever I did my other videos. So Rimuru is a medium to build character and can be very, very oppressive to fight against. So I would definitely say he is a higher tier one that you can do. I want to arrange these around a little bit just so Specimen says is at the bottom. Remnant Violet can go up here. Sangelica can go further down. Arunca could go over here. It won't be perfect, but I don't want to have certain characters like way down on the list. So like, where is this character when they're actually really good? So I want to drag these all up here. Okay, so now going down, let's go ahead and look at Lionheart Sermia. Lionheart Sermia is a character that is, I would say, hard to build. She takes defense scaling stuff. You can get, if you do have her, she is basically the first character you want to try to craft gear specifically for. She's so, so strong. So whenever you're trying to do your crafts and you have her, craft looking for pieces for her and saving anything else that looks good, but be putting a very hard focus on pieces that could work for her. She's defense scaling damage dealer. Right side's going to be crit damage, defense percent speed, or crit damage. If you're doing speed set on her, you can do crit damage, defense percent. But if you're doing speed set, you need Golden Rose or Sigurd's Scythe. If you are doing lifesteal set, you can get away with any artifact. But if you are doing a non-lifesteal build, you need to use Golden Rose or she will suck. Do not fall into that trap. If you are not using some kind of healing mechanic, whether it's within her kit or her artifact, she is not going to perform like the Lionheart Sermias you're used to seeing. If you don't one-shot with her on the first turn, she's going to die and you're going to lose. So keep that in mind. Next up, we are going to have Sylvan Sage Vivian. She is going to technically go into the medium to build category next to Rylet. They basically can just take the same gear. Just put the same gear on them. They'll function about the same in terms of how much they win, how much they lose. They're both pretty good characters, not insane characters. So both are pretty decent. So now let's go ahead and look at Yulha. Yulha is going to go into easy to gear category next to Crow and all the tanks. You can get away with building her on your free HP gear pretty much, and she will perform for you. The bulkier she is, the longer she stays alive, the better. It's just about timing your skill 3. It's the same as Krau's that deals true damage depending upon how much damage she or health she is missing. So she has 30,000 health, and you're missing 25,000 of that. You have 5,000 health left. You're going to be hitting for over 25,000 with her skill. So that is very nice. So now next up we have Zio. Zio is going to go into the hard to build. Zio is the cheap, insane to build character. He gets free speed, a ton of it, based off his skill 2. So you can build him 250 speed. As a new player, if you built a 230 Zio, even if he's not on damage, and he also only needs 50 crit chance, by the way, he's almost, because of how easy he is to gear, he's almost in the medium to build. I'm going to put him up here. If you have Zio as a new player, he can win you a lot of games. So you don't want to early pick him though. Usually if he's not built properly, but a 230 Zio, if they try to cleave you, you can just slap him down. He's probably getting banned. But he's kind of a bluff character for some new players, but just experiment with him. But I definitely suggest he's similar to Zahak, but he's actually easier to gear than Zahak and will do a lot for you. I have learned that from other people. So Lulukar, this is going to be a hard to gear character, but you could probably put her in medium to gear and get away with it. She needs a lot of effect res, like over 200. So she's so good though that I'm going to put her in medium to build because focus on building her. She is nice. If you have this character, she is a game changer. She's very, very meta right now. But she's very hard to gear a proper one because you need her to have as much effect as possible so she can't get locked down or reset by Lua and things like that. So from there, we have Karina. Karina, I'm going to put her in medium to build as well just because she's so strong. You can build a mediocre one of her and she's still going to perform super good. So she can go in medium to gear for sure. And then let's see who's next. The defense scaling damage dealer. Abigail is the kind of character that is definitely easy to build. You can build her on free HP set as a new player. She's going to give you survivability to your backline character. I don't know how well she'll perform for you if you don't know what you're doing in the game. I know if I were to build an Abigail on early account, I know I could do well with her. So the problem is if you don't know, if you feel like you're going to be too confused to use her, maybe don't bother. But if you don't have any other build options, she can be okay. I showed in my fire video example a couple build types you can do on her. Either damage, which that one's, if you do damage, it's gonna be medium to build. If you do full HP with nothing else, just maybe 190, 200 speed, like 26,000 HP, 1500 defense, pretty easy to get away with. And then you could put her with whatever damage dealer in your backline, and it could win you a lot of games once you learn how to play her properly. So next up we have Sharoon. This is the godsend character that I love. She is so good for new players. She's going like toward the top of the list, and we'll drag Raz down to the bottom. Sharoon, easy to gear. I used her on plus 12 right side gear to climb all the way to champion on that old account that I did. She is so good. The better gear you put on her, awesome. But just putting her on free HP set, the free 75 HP set essentially, and learning where to pick her and picking her with Arrowell or another mitigation knight to keep her alive, she's very strong. But she's a harder to build or play character because her skill 1 skill resets the opponent if it applies venom to them, which is a debuff. That you'll read it if you have her. But it resets skills, so you need to know what the opponent's skills do and what the highest priority to reset are. So you're kind of, when you play her, you're playing 2 to 3 turns ahead thinking. Either way, once you learn how to play her as a new player, she will basically carry 20-30% of your matches. So next up, Rowana. Rowana is extremely easy to gear, amazing counter pick. Definitely advised for all people to get her and get her on anything. You can put her on anything. You can put her on 6 different set pieces as long as it's HP and defense with a little effect res and you're good. She just works. So she's one of the trash can characters that just works on whatever trash gear, and you have her. The better gear you put on her, obviously, better she'll perform. I keep saying that, but you guys get the gist from here. So now Arowell, she is the #1 new player, easy to gear, amazing character. Arbiter Vildred is going to go into medium to gear. He's pretty easy to gear. He still can be used as a good 5th pick in RTA. So I definitely advise, if you have him, just at least have him sitting there as a backup. If you ever don't know what to do in an RTA draft, just pick Arby at the end of your draft. Even if the opponent looks kind of bulky, if you have Arby on Alexa's basket and you proc Alexa's basket twice, there's a chance you're just going to win. So if you ever are in doubt, Arby it out, as we say. So next up we have Shu. Shu is going to be a medium to gear character. So sometimes you can put her on the free counter set from Arena, but the problem is only 5 pieces have potential for it. And if they don't roll crit chance, you're going to be struggling. You're going to have to get crit set from Wyvern to finish your build. But for a new player, she's pretty quick to gear. And once you have her at least 85 crit chance, she's going to perform well for you. Even if she's missing crits, she will still solo you games sometimes. So she's definitely going within that tier. Next up, we have Destina. Destina is going in the easy to gear tier for sure. She's amazing. That's why I say pick her from your selector. Aiden. Aiden is going in the easy to gear tier simply because all you have to do is put the free attack set, get a crit or a attack percent ring, and then a speed main set boot. You can use the arena gear for the ring and boot, and you're already done, and your Aiden is going to perform perfectly fine. So free attacks, free tier 75 attack set, a crit damage attack necklace from that set, and then the ring and boot from arena, your Aiden is good. If you need to see a build example of that, go to my 30-day or what your account can look like after 30 days video. LR Crow is going to also be an easy to gear character. For new players, you need him 200 speed, 25,000 HP, 1400 defense, splash of effect res. That is usable. Just try to focus on those stats I just said, and he's going to be fine. He's very, very good. Put him on Aureus most likely as a new player to keep your other team alive. Apoc Ravi is going to be in the same situation as Shu and ML Landy. She's so strong that even if your gear isn't great, she's going to still be amazing. Same build as Shu, you're going to be focusing HP. Do not put attack percent boots on Ravi. Do not put attack percent ring on Ravi. Use a crit damage necklace on Ravi. Those are 3 main mistakes I see. People try to put HP percent next on Ravi, you lose value. People try to put attack percent stuff on her. Doesn't work good. HP percent. Crit damage neck. HP percent ring, crit damage neck. Boots, try to get speed with HP percent. If you have to go HP percent, it's not going to be that great, but it can work. So Ravi is a character I see so many people just put attack stuff on it, like Dear Ravi is not doing anything she's supposed to be doing. So I would say Solitari is a medium to build character. If you built her 240 speed with some bulk, she's going to work fine. So Solitari, even slower than that, she's just a character that as long as you have gear on her, she can just win you games. So as seen in my 30-day account challenge. Next up, Spectre Tibra, easy to gear character. Again, she can be used on the free attack set. She is stealth, meaning that she is going to just be easy to gear. You can put the exact set I said on Aiden on Spectre Tibra, but the thing is, if you're going to be using both, which you guys should be, then you need to craft a crit set ring and crit set boot that has damage subs, and that will work. Also, building her on speed set, building either of them on the speed set is pretty easy too. So now next up, we are going to have Meteor Cowrick is going to go into easy to build tier. Meteor Cowrick goals are at least 210 speed with as much HP and defense. Nothing else matters on him, just speed. My ML Cowrick is usually around 230 to 250. I'm currently testing a 270 Meteor Cowrick, but 210 will work on him. You need the Artifact Warhorn from the guild shop. Make sure you guys are in guilds. Discord down below if you need guilds, but that is highly advised. Mercedes is also an easy to gear character. Mercedes can be used on attack set. She can be used on the free destruction sets. And if she's on Magic as her friends, she will just win you games sometimes without having to do anything. A decently built one can just one-shot a Spectre Tenebria without attack buff through mitigation. So it is very, very nice to have as a new player. Next up, we have the actual real res. He can go into the top section. We'll drag the other res down now. Lots of information in this video, but hopefully this helped you. AOL is the same, easy to gear, 200 speed, same as Alert Crow. You don't have to build a lot of effectiveness on her, but the main, try to get at least 150 if you can, 150 effectiveness. 210 speed is enough. Try to get like 14k HP, 1300 defense. That's a solid AOL. New players can all achieve that pretty simply. So, and if you have AOL, she is going to carry you to Masters. That's all I'll say. If you get her and know how to use her, she'll carry you to Masters for free. Bellion is just going to go on the medium to build. She doesn't even have to have, she gives herself crit chance buff. You can build her 50 crit with like 230 crit damage, 22,000 HP. She's going to work fine. So I'd put her in the medium to build. You don't even have to build her on counter set. You can put her on speed set, and she's, if you draft her into cleave, she'll still work. She'll take their souls away. So that's usually what you need to do with her. There are ways to make her work without being too worried about anything else. So now we have Conqueror Lilius. She is going to be either hard to build or insane to build. One of the two. So keep that in mind, either hard to build or insane to build. If you go 270, you can use her. She will somewhat work. A little risky. If you go 290, she's great. If you go 270 with good bulk, she's pretty hard to gear still, but solid. You can go no effect res, by the way, on C Lilius. Mine has 60 right now. Mine's on Proof of Valor, 22,000 HP, like 1400 defense at 292 speed. And I like that build way more. I never need effectiveness on her because I can never hit the effectiveness thresholds. It's like if you can't hit at least like 150 effectiveness before having artifact on her to give bonus, it's not even worth trying to go effectiveness. Just have at least a little bit. And you're probably going to be fine. I don't know. It just depends how you want to use her, but I don't use effectiveness on my C Lilius anymore. I found her surviving longer is just way better. So Def, I do not survive or suggest ever going effectiveness ring on her, because if she just dies right away, then what's the point? So I never suggest effectiveness ring. We already did Bellion. Edward is pretty dang hard to gear. Edward is hard to gear. He has no crit chance. He's so annoying to build. If you're trying to build an injury build on him, he's very hard to gear. If you're trying to do speed on him, he's hard to get 100 crit chance on while still having 20k HP. I definitely think he's a hard to gear character. So now this is going to be the overall list. Easy to build characters. I would suggest focusing on getting these ones done first. These are the ones that you can gear with whatever gear. They're probably going to be usable in RTA. Pretty efficiently if you learn where to play them. If you're curious on like my RTA advice on what to do, I go over build 2 tanks, build 4 to 6 damage dealers, trying to get your first RTA team ready. Check out my last video. It's a day 22, I believe, of the guide series. I think it's day 20. It's either day 22 or 23. Or not day, but part. It's one of those two. So the easy to build characters are all, and then medium to build characters, these are going to mainly be your damage dealers, your support characters, and your kind of carry characters for the game. These are going to be like your support characters generally. These are going to be like your hard damage carry characters in the medium to build. And then your hard to build characters, these are honestly mostly counter pick characters. It's just when you're using them to counter pick, they need to be built well to actually counter what you're picking them against, is what a lot of these do, or they're decently speedy characters. So that's going to be what these two fall into. Kisei needs to be at least 250 generally, unless you have a character to booster. And then all of these are generally pretty hard to build. Insane to build, these are typically your 270 plus speed characters, gear score characters. Like Keiran, I definitely think he is an insane to build character to have him work right. Tamaluka needs to be very fast. Mui needs to be at least 270 or at least 260 with a ton of effectiveness to work properly. So this is going to be that tier. And then here's the do not build, don't bother building tier. And then these characters are already in the list. For some reason, there were duplicates of it. So let me scroll out so we can see the list a bit better. So that is it. Hopefully this helps you in knowing which characters would be considered easy to build. If you guys need build pictures this weekend, the videos will be up. If you want to at least see the fire character builds to see what kind of videos I'm talking about, go to my fire character build. I'll link it in the description maybe so you guys can find it. If I forget to, comment that I forgot to. But hopefully this video helps. You guys suggested this. This was a suggested video. I don't know how it'll turn out. I did what I could. I tried to explain it the best I could. But from here, now that you know which ones would be easiest to build, it's about finding the builds to aim for. So I know that's the next hard part. But hopefully this video at least helps get you guys on the right page of what to focus on doing first. If you're new to the channel, if you're willing to subscribe, be awesome. It's been Deity, and I will see you all in the next video. Peace out.